I'm Wanda. The aftermath of my grandmother's 70th birthday party still lingers in my mind, and I'm sure it'll be etched in the memories of my family forever. As I sit here in what is now my living room, looking out at the garden where Grandma used to keep her meticulous records, I'm reminded of how everything changed that fateful day. The party was in full swing, with guests mingling, laughter filling the air, and the setting sun casting a warm glow over the backyard. I was wearing a simple yet elegant navy blue cocktail dress, a stark contrast to the cold reception I'd received from my family. For the first 2 hours, I was practically invisible. When it came to group photos, I was sent to the back row with the excuse of better lighting up front. Servers passed me by when appetizers were being distributed, and when guests asked who I was, my half-sister Lily quickly introduced me as just a cousin. But then, Grandma's voice cut through the chatter. "Wanda, sweetheart, come sit with me for a moment." I felt a jolt of surprise and anticipation as I made my way to her. She took my hand, squeezed it, and whispered, "Stay until the end tonight. Grandma has something to say." Her eyes held a knowing look, and my heart started to pound. 2 hours into the party, Lily stepped up to the microphone. She began a 5-minute performance, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief as she talked about her wonderful memories with Grandma, how Grandma taught her to bake, and how she'd been by Grandma's side all these years. I stood in the back, doing the math in my head. I'd been the one visiting Grandma every week for the past 10 years, taking her to doctor's appointments, cleaning her house, and sitting with her during those lonely nights. But Lily had a large Instagram following and knew how to put on a show. A distant cousin turned to me and asked if I was going to say something. Before I could respond, Lily appeared at my elbow and said, "Oh, Wanda is so busy with her nursing job, she doesn't really have time for speeches." A few people chuckled, and my mother nodded along. But this time I didn't back down. I said evenly, "Grandma knows who's actually been there." Lily's smile froze, and across the lawn, Grandma caught my eye and gave me a subtle nod. As the party was winding down, Grandma stood up and tapped her glass. "Everyone, please stay a moment longer." The yard fell silent. She began to talk about family and what it truly meant. Specifically, I want to talk about the person who's actually been there for me these past 10 years. I felt the air change. Grandma then pulled out a small, worn leather notebook from her cardigan pocket. I recognized it. I'd seen it on her nightstand countless times. "I've been keeping records for 10 years. Everything," she said. She opened the notebook and started to read. March 15th, 2019. Wanda drove me to my cardiology appointment. Lily said she was busy. The silence was absolute. She flipped through the pages, listing all the times I'd been there and the times others had been absent. My mother's face went gray, and Lily's face turned white. Lily tried to interrupt, but Grandma cut her off. "Sit down, Lily. It wasn't a request." Then Grandma said there was something else. Uncle Henry, Aunt Grace's husband, slowly rose to his feet. He explained that 6 months ago, he'd accidentally seen a group chat on Aunt Grace's phone called True Family Only. He'd read through 7 years of messages filled with mockery, bets on my failures, and celebration of my divorce. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People stared at Aunt Grace, my mother, and Lily. Grandma nodded and said, "I've known for 6 months. I've read every message." Grandma then pulled out a folded document. 3 months ago, I had Henry update my will. This house will go to my granddaughter, Wanda. She has cared for it, cleaned it, and filled it with love for 10 years. She's earned it. The crowd murmured, and Lily looked like she'd been slapped. I stepped forward and said, "I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to call anyone names. For 7 years, you had a chat called True Family Only and excluded me. You mocked me, bet on my failures, and celebrated the worst day of my life. I'm done. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm just done." The party ended in silence. Guests quickly gathered their things, avoiding eye contact with my mother and Lily. My great-aunt Rose, who'd been Grandma's neighbor for 30 years, approached me and said, "I always wondered why you weren't in the family photos. Now I understand." Let me take you back to how I got here. 6 weeks ago, my phone rang at 7 in the morning. It was Grandma. Wanda, honey, I'm having a party for my 70th. I want you there. I was surprised. Usually, family announcements went through a group chat that I assumed I'd been forgotten in. In the following days, small signs of their true feelings started to surface. 3 days before the party, I called my mother to ask about the dress code. She said it was casual. But when I stopped by her house to drop off Grandma's medication, I saw a text from Lily on her phone. It said to remember the cocktail dress, as photographers were coming at 4. I left without saying goodbye, a cold feeling settling in my chest. That night, I called Lily. I wanted to try and bridge the gap between us. But her response was cold. Oh, Grandma invited you too. It was like a slap in the face. And then, I received a voice message from her where she was talking to someone else, saying how annoying I was and how she didn't understand what Grandma saw in me. When she texted me later saying it was sent by accident, I knew it was more than just a one-time slip. 2 years ago, my marriage fell apart. I found out that my husband, Tom, had been having an affair with his coworker, Sarah. I called my mother, sobbing, but she just said, "Well, honey, you've been working a lot. Maybe if you'd been home more." Lily's comment on Facebook was even more hurtful. Some people just aren't meant to keep a man. But Grandma was there for me. She called me every day for that first month, sometimes just listening to me cry. 4 days before the party, at 11 p.m., I was reading in bed when my phone buzzed. Lily added me to the True Family Only group chat. I was shocked. As I scrolled through the 847 unread messages, I discovered a 7-year-long history of mockery. They called me a charity case, placed bets on when I'd fail, and celebrated my divorce. My mother even wrote that she was relieved I didn't have kids, one less grandchild to worry about. I spent hours screenshotting every message, every laugh react, every betting pool. I found a conversation from 6 months ago where they were talking about Grandma's notebook. Lily said she'd seen my name written in it multiple times. I remembered what Grandma had said at Grandpa's funeral. I keep track, honey. I always keep track. After I finished screenshotting, I sent a text. Thanks for the receipts, Wanda. Then I left the group. My phone started to ring and text messages flooded in. Lily said she was drunk when she added me, and my mother said it was just venting. But I knew it was more than that. The next day, Lily showed up at my apartment. She was in full makeup, holding a designer bag, and her eyes were wet with what looked like real tears. She apologized, but when I mentioned the bets on my divorce, she tried to shift the blame to Aunt Grace. I told her I was going to the party because Grandma invited me, and I was done pretending. In the days after the party, the fallout came in waves. On social media, someone posted about the group chat and the bets on my divorce. Lily lost 5,000 followers in a week. Her Instagram account became a target of criticism, and she eventually disappeared from the platform. My mother's social circle also started to pull away. Her invitations were met with the excuse of being busy. Uncle Henry moved into a hotel, and he told me he should have said something years ago. He said he saw the messages about my divorce and thought about his own daughter. Cousin Ava, who'd laughed at my marriage failing, sent me a text saying she was sorry. It wasn't much, but it was something. 2 weeks after the party, my mother knocked on my door. She looked older, with no makeup and unbrushed hair, clutching a photo album. She said she didn't know where she went wrong, and that I was a reminder of her failed first marriage. I told her it wasn't my fault, and we agreed on 3 months of no contact before trying to rebuild our relationship. Lily tried to reach out in many ways: phone calls, emails, gifts. But I wrote her a letter saying I understood her reasons, but I didn't want a relationship with her. I'm not angry or bitter, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove I belong. 3 months later, I'm still adjusting to this new chapter. I still work 60 hours a week in the ICU, still live alone, but I don't feel like I'm waiting for permission to belong anymore. Grandma was right when she said the best part of getting old is stopping to care what people think and just living. I'm finally free from the illusion of a family that never really included me.